What's good, y'all? Welcome to Outside the Clutch. This is episode 49. Man, 49. It's growing. It's thriving. It's becoming its own creature. It's really starting to blossom. I appreciate you all for coming in and showing love for this show, showing love for our guests that we're bringing on. Pretty excited about tonight. This dude's got some amazing projects, just some fire animals. He has a ridiculous backstory. Dude made the best out of a crazy situation in life, which I think we should all try to do. Really excited to bring that to you and just bring who Jacob is as a person to you. One of the things I love about this is everyone focuses on the animals. Everyone focuses on just the projects and things like that, right? Which is great. And I think we all need that. We need to push each other. We need to just like share that love for animals, but knowing the people behind the brand is just one of the great gifts that we get out of this community that we don't always take advantage of. So that's what this podcast is. It's to let you get to know the people behind the brand. That being said, hey, we're growing, we're doing our thing. I want to talk about a couple things happening on this channel before we jump in tonight. So if you're following the channel, you know we have started posting Monday morning shorts. So Monday morning, we are now doing a 15-minute episode with people at reptile shows that we've gone to, which means I will be carrying podcast gear everywhere for probably the remainder of my life, which is great. How great is that? It's super great. It's going to be a lot of carrying of stuff. But so Monday mornings at 7 o'clock Mountain Standard Time, we have a 15-minute episode that comes out now. If you guys would watch that, let me know what you think about those episodes. I would really appreciate that. Some people that just might not have that full hour and a half to devote to an afternoon or a weekend show like this, that gives us the opportunity to get them at a show and really dive into them. So I'm excited about that segment. We're going to continue our vlogs going on, which I've been putting off. We've been creating a rodent breeding segment, and we're diving into like a regular vlog, and we'll be alternating those to kind of dive into what we're doing here, not only with breeding, but like focus on the rodents, because there's just a shortage and baby season's coming. Everyone's ready for their babies, but you got to have the rodents to take care of those babies. So it's my way to try to help out the community a little bit, and kind of just push forward, because that makes me work on the rats that much more, right? And all the time you spend with them, hey, the better you are and the better you treat them, the better they're going to be. Speaking of the time that you put in, husbandry's key, right? We all know you're not going to get anywhere without the right husbandry. So there's only one place to go for your products. Get the right husbandry products. Here at Outside the Clutch, we're honored to be sponsored by VivTech. Are you ready for innovation? Tired of the same boring product that's been used for 30 years? Ready to give your reptiles and amphibians the UV they really deserve? Then look no farther than VivTech. Their 3-watt LED bulbs provide the UV rays your animals have been missing. With 3 bulbs to fit your pet's climate needs, plus a dimmable feature, it's the only bulbs we use for UV. And it's the only bulb with a 2-year warranty in the industry. Plus now you can monitor all your pet's husbandry from your phone 24/7 with their sensors, and even ship your customers' animals in their custom bags. So what are you waiting for? Go to VivTechProducts.com today, use code FCLUTCH0322 for 15% off, and provide your animals the best care they've ever had. Really, really important that you get the right husbandry stuff. Outside of husbandry, you need the right substrate, whether you're in a dry climate, a humid climate, any climate. I think coconut works best. I'm not saying you can't use other stuff, but I love coconut. And there's only one brand that I choose when I use coconut. Are you ready for the best coconut substrate in the game? Then you gotta get REPTIchip. First off, it's America's chip because it's veteran owned. Secondly, why wouldn't you want the best cocoa chip for your animals? Go to REPTIchip.com, use code FEELYCHIPPIN for 10% off up to 3 breeder blocks,
or your entire order of Easy Hatch trays or any Redline Science equipment on the site. Limit 1 coupon per customer. Or reach out to me as a representative in the El Paso area, and don't forget to join the Reptilution, where all profits go to helping those in need within the reptile community.
And finally, our last sponsor. If you listened last week, you heard all of my stuff had like all of my video to make the commercial had stuff that YouTube doesn't essentially like at a show, like all the little kids and things like that. And then it wasn't up to my standard that I'm trying to present. Show me snake shows. Mickey's putting on like 2, 3, sometimes 4 shows in a weekend. How he does it, I don't know. I wish I had that drive. I'll bring you 2 shows a week. That's what I got. So if you want to find a family-friendly environment where you can go, you can see hots, you can see a multitude of species. You're not just looking at ball pythons all the time, which, hey, I like to play with balls, pythons. Make sure you go check out a Show Me Snake show. It's a great time. I really enjoy it. I do all the West Texas shows. I'm actually going to try to hit Tennessee shows this year, potentially some Missouri. So if you're going to those, hit me up. Let's hang out. But let's get to the man of the hour. I'm going to go. I like to let them kind of do their thing, and I don't want to just run this the whole time by myself. I want to get to know who this man is. So do me a favor, put your hands together, give some love and to Mr. Jacob Ledbetter of Sybil Serpents.
What's up?
What's going on, dude?
What's happening, man?
Not too much. So you got like a little cast of I don't know if I want to call them supporters or cronies or what I want to say today.
I like to call them assholes.
So we got people like Mr. Troy from Best Dressed Balls.
It's my favorite right there. My favorite asshole.
Antoine from High Desert Pythons. Get you some of that.
Yes, sir. That's my buddy right there.
I love Anna, dude. Anna's like, she's my go-to in this industry. Like every time I'm kind of doubting myself,
yeah,
she pushes me to just push through it and like do more. She's like, well, you could vend. Well, you could do this.
Right.
You could do that. I love her for that.
I never met her, but she cracks me up. Like her stories and stuff, man. They crack me up. 100%.
Arvin, is that one of yours? It's got to be one of yours.
I don't know.
You don't know Arvin? Arvin, thank you for joining.
Maybe not by the first name. I don't know.
Yeah, I probably know the brand name.
Right.
I'm not gonna lie. I'm horrible with names, dude. Like,
I can't be. Yeah, takes me a little while.
Jamie's 15 minutes of lame, first generation family.
Wow,
I love her.
Right on.
Tom from Timeless Morphs, he's fam too.
Yeah, I know Timeless. Yep.
Let's see. Tyler from Tyler's Toxic Balls. This dude has, for how young he is, that dude's gonna be throwing some heat so quick. Like,
yeah, his stuff's caught my eye a few times. Yeah, for sure.
This knucklehead. I love this dude. Matt's great people, man. That's great people.
Yeah. He's my favorite character in Twilight.
Jeremy. I'm gonna assume that's Jeremy. It might be Jeannie, but it's on YouTube, so I'm gonna guess that's probably Jeremy. Jeremy's 15 minutes of lame Gen 1 too.
When was the first year of that? What year was that?
Oh Lord. That was, they might have to tell me. I think we're on like season 3 or 4 now.
Okay. What season was it that
Antoine was 2, so we just did season 3 with where Leviathan, so this is season 4.
Okay.
Chris has been doing a great job with that promo, man.
Yeah.
Like, that's an
this past season it was really interesting.
Let me see. We got OGs in the house. Mr. Tom Barnhart. That's
wow.
special. I like that one.
That's cool.
He's got some great stuff. I just love his personality, man.
Yeah.
This dude.
Oh, that's what you right there.
I love you, Jerome.
Yes, sir.
That's where I'm gonna leave that. So it'd be nice. Andrew from Redwood. What's good? What's good? I love that dude.
God.
No, he's just a big beef.
It's so funny. This guy, I haven't heard nothing from him all day, and then all of a sudden he pops on the podcast. Just
you know what? I've been hitting him up all week. I was like, "Hey, you better promote your boy." And
see,
crickets. He did it to you.
What a big fat jerk.
1776 Exotics. What's up? What's up? Thanks for coming in. As you guys come in, hey, I appreciate it. Do your thing. I'll try to keep up with both the guest and y'all. Let's jump into you though, Jacob. Like that's why the people are here, right?
Yeah.
I love how you just stroked your beard. You're just like,
I'm just reading some of the comments right now. Like,
bring it out.
God, dude.
So who's Jacob? Like, how do we connect and get to know who, like, be outside of reptiles, right? Like, what was your bring up? What do you do for like your day to day? Like, what drives Jacob outside of just reptiles?
Well, it's funny because you had Troy on not too long ago. Me and Troy have very identical stories. So I was adopted. As a baby. Never knew my birth family. So I was raised by my adopted parents, great parents. You know, they, there was a lot of, like Troy had touched on. And I think that's why me and Troy connect so much is there's a lot of wondering why that turns into anger. So you kind of grow up with that, being a part of you. And it takes time to digest that and basically grow up and kind of put it all together to where it's okay and you move on, so that's kind of where I came from. As far as like, so my dad had a game bird farm. My dad used to breed like exotic game birds from like Asia. Like, okay. I say game birds, like pheasants and stuff, but he didn't have he had the ringneck pheasants that we have in the United States and stuff, which are actually an invasive species, believe it or not. They're not even from here. They're from China. But he had like a lot of crazy expensive exotic stuff that, was like, there's like hundreds of different types of pheasants. So like he had just all this crazy stuff. And I was, from the day one, I was hatching eggs, like chicken eggs, pheasant eggs, quail. Like I was around that my entire life. And I think that, really played a part in who I am today, what I'm doing now. And, we'll touch on a lot of that in other parts of the conversation, but yeah, definitely have always been.
So exotics have always been in your blood.
Oh, and just animals, breeding, having, just like, it's always been there, so it's kind of funny how it, the rest of my life goes and up until this point to where it's like, it's kind of like coming back to square one with everything, like with what my passion was. You forget about that when you're trying to make money and buy a house and raise a family and do all the things that, that come with life, and so you kind of lose touch with that. You kind of push that aside as like childish or a part of who you were when you were, younger and dumber. And like, there's no future in any of that stuff. That's just, wasting time, So
what started you out, man? Like what really pushed you when you first got through the drive, right? Like you got through high school and you decided to go out on your own.
Well, I just kind of, that was kind of like a cool opportunity. So there, when you turn 18, you can find your birth parents, but I never really had any desire to do that up until, maybe 10 years ago. So, and I'm 45 now. So a long period of time, I just kind of like brushed that off. I had a girlfriend who became my first wife, who's my ex-wife now. We did the apartment thing, trying to make it, and we had a daughter together about when I was like 24, I believe. I think I was 24.
Started young.
Yeah, but I mean, to me, that seems like older.
Well, for some, yeah.
Yeah, like I knew so many people in high school that were like right out of high school having kids, you know, like, geez, dude, like getting married and stuff. Like, so I felt like I was behind all those people. But yeah, I mean, you're right. I mean, it's pretty young, especially nowadays. Like it seems like people are waiting until they're in their 30s to have kids, you know?
I wish. No, I'm just kidding. My kids are a blessing, but it's just like, man, if I had like that extra 2 or 3 years to like prepare, like if I had been married without like rushing into children, it would have been so much easier.
Yeah, so I have a 20-year-old daughter now, and I have a 3-year-old son. So it's kind of cool because in retrospect, I get to see like all of the things that, you know, I've had that run at it when I was so young. I'm older now, so I'm a lot different. But at the same time, it sucks because I think back about, man, I kind of screwed that up with my first kid. I wish I would have been more like this, you know, like, and but it's cool. Like I definitely enjoy it now more than I did then. I don't think I realized it, you know, but I think I enjoy it now way more because it's almost like you know, you learn from your mistakes, you mature, you're just a better person, I feel like, than when you're 20, 24, 25.
Oh yeah.
You know.
Sure. Did you kind of like go into a conversation with them now and be like, hey, your dad was a little bit of a-hole growing up or whatever?
Yeah, oh yeah. Me and my daughter, that was one thing.
Feel.
Yeah, me and my daughter were always close. So me and her mother got divorced. She was like, I think when that all started, she was like 10. But we had always had like a really cool relationship where she was very, like, I told her she could be honest and tell me anything. So as she got older and those conversations became more in depth and more like personal and, you know, mature, I became the guy that she could like confide in. And her mom became like the, you know, like I got to hide everything from mom because mom will freak out. So that really taught me a lesson in what I'm doing with my kid now, my son, you know, that kind of an important thing that I'm glad I have because she lives in San Diego. We hardly seen each other, you know, as much as we used to. She's got her boyfriend and her life and her doing her thing, but we still have that connection, like, you know, and she's told me many times, I'm not even going to fucking read that, Andrew. First of all, $4.99, dude. What is that?
Oh man. No, he threw me off with that. Damn it. So, no, that's good. That's one of the hardest things for me now. Like as a dad.
Yeah.
Because, like my past came from like not the greatest origins either. So I still have a lot of pent up anger or something, you know. And sometimes that anger comes out, and then I have to go back and like my kids are still young, so like when I start like kind of yelling and be like, just go see your mom and like get out of my head, and then I come back and I sit down with them. I'm like, babies, I'm so sorry. Like,
yeah, no.
I am so freaking sorry. Like, you got to understand. Like, I know you're young, but this is the way dad's head works, and it was just like it was that moment.
Yeah.
And they're starting to understand it, but I feel so bad for that stuff, man. And I really hope that
I think that's what you want, though.
They don't really resent that, you know?
Yeah, you're going to make the mistakes, but it's the ability, like, to, like, come back and, like, you know, in humility and say, hey, daddy was wrong. I'm sorry. Like, that's what builds the relationships, I think. Because everyone screws up. Everyone makes mistakes. You're not going to avoid that, especially with kids, you know, multiple kids, too. It's like, you know, it's not like it multiplies like, oh, I have 2 kids. It's like each kid multiplies the issues like 10 times. You know, so the more kids you have, the more chaotic, the more crazy, like it can get nuts sometimes, man. I know how that goes.
There's I don't know if you could see that. There's some there. It's starting to pull up like all over here. There's like individual hairs. I pulled 2 out of my head the other day. I was like, oh, I have no gray hairs on my head. I'm doing great. And then I was looking in the mirror after a shower. I was like, oh, crap. I looked at my wife. I was like, this is your fault.
Yeah. Yeah.
But no, it's crazy, man. And like all my kids it's like a 5-year spread between all of them. And it's just like, oh, I did this like, talk about one shot, one kill. I get it done, but there's a reason I had to get fixed. But Yeah, it's crazy, but I love them. I love them. I wouldn't change my life for a minute.
Yeah, for sure, man.
But
They complete it, man.
man, it's just
They give you something to
yeah.
push for, you know.
So what was kind of your jobs coming up? Like everyone has like that trade that they kind of bring into the animal side of it too. And that's so like you had your first child, you had to fend for your family, you had
Yeah,
to do that man part, right? So what was the 9 to 5 or 6 to 7 or
yeah, 6 to 7,
yeah
4
that
a.m.
shift
to
work?
4 a.m. to 8 p.m.
Oh man.
You know,
Yeah.
like that was like literally the time I'd walk out of my door and the time I'd get back for most of my, especially like towards the end. Like I only work like 3 hours a week at the reptile shop in Temecula
Okay.
now. So, and then I do my own thing. And so it's a lot different than it used to be. But for forever back in the day, I did tile and wood flooring, like real wood flooring. I did that for like 11 years.
How's your back, bro?
My back's better now that I've lost weight. It can be bad. My knees are like a lot of the guys that I know that did it. I think I got out right at the right time because guys that kept doing it, their like knees are like, they can barely like bend down. And, you know, I got a 3-year-old, so I got to be pretty agile and be able to move around and play. So, you know, I'm glad I got out when I did. But after that, I did, I worked for a company, and this is one of the coolest jobs. When I was going through my divorce, I was kind of like at a crossroads, and I didn't have, you know, I gave up everything I had basically. I mean, even my vehicle ended up going to my daughter's mom and stuff. So I was at a point where I was like, you know, I'm going to do something different, something more exciting. So I got actually from my birth family, one of my aunts that I actually kind of grew close with. She works for a company that does like third party, overseeing when they do the nuclear, when they shut down nuclear plants, power plants, when they shut them down, and they do like, you know, maintenance, or they have to do like an emergency like fix on something on the generator, whatever it may be. We would go in and basically monitor the whole process, and it had to be like a third party outside of the plant owners. And then I think the two big companies were GE and Siemens, and they were the actual like the millwrights, the guys that did the work. So there had to be like a third party not involved with either side to make sure that, you know, everything was done perfect. I mean, if you left a piece of wire the size of your fingernail, like if you know, clipped your fingernail, like a little tiny piece, if you left that in the generator, it would blow the whole entire unit up. So it was pretty stringent, pretty hardcore. I mean,
So
we've had
everything you've done's been major focus on attention to detail.
That one was the worst, man. Like it was like we had logs. We would finish the job and we would literally have boxes of logs from like, and this was like 13-hour shifts, 7 days a week, the entire time I'm gone. So, you know, every once in a while they throw you a day off, but it was like intense and crazy and just, yeah. One of my favorite jobs though, because I got to go all over the country, man. I was, you know, and I'd be there for a good time, you know, like, you know, 3 months, sometimes 4 months. So that was cool. I was going through that whole divorce separation process. So it was good to have like that outlet to kind of get away on my own and do like my own thing away from anybody I knew, basically. And then after that, I worked on the cell towers for a while up until like when my son was born, which coincided with the rise of COVID. So when COVID hit, I was off for a year, but we just had our boy in December, you know, prior to that March. So it all worked out really good for me. It was great to be actually, you know, at that time, I thought I was going to go back to work, but I ended up going back to work, but I started working for a cultivator out here, a cannabis cultivator, for about 2 years. And basically, I mean, the pay wasn't great, but it was just something to do. And it was like, I was getting to that point where I was making enough money doing the snakes versus like having this little extra income was very helpful. But then it got to the point where I was needed more at home for the kids and stuff for my wife's sake. We homeschool, so she's got a heavy load, so to speak. You know, she's got two boys that are, you know, one's high school age almost, and she's homeschooling him. The other one's 10, and he's, you know, really smart kids. But yeah, so she's got a lot on her plate. So I kind of like decided to do this thing part-time with the pet shop, which worked out well. It's kind of just awesome how it all worked out because it's perfect. It's exactly what I needed.
Yeah, man. Okay. That's something that me and my wife are working on. But I couldn't imagine like high school. Like I already told my wife, I was like, once they get past like basic algebra, I'm gonna be no help to them. So like
Yeah, they have enrichment classes like once a week that they go to for like 4 hours. And it's like the basic, they're like, it's two different classes, but they basically give them like a little bit of everything. Like one's like writing and history kind of combined. And the other one is like math and I don't know, like more of a STEM class type deal.
so it's like an online process for them, or
Well, they do online, but then we go to they have an actual campus. It's just like it's basically a church that they use for a campus for one of the enrichment schools that we have out here. And they just do that like once a week, but they've done all the state grading that you're supposed to do, and they always are like outperforming the local kids in our area, like hands down. I think the 10-year-old, when he was like 6, he was doing like 8th grade math at 6 years old. He's like a mathematician, bro. It's crazy.
Yeah. So let's jump into it.
All right.
The name is very much an important part to you. Can you bring out the origin of Sybil Serpents?
Yeah, absolutely. And it really does tie in a lot of the things we've already talked about too. So 2017, my current wife, she got pregnant. We were going to have a kid. We found out it was a boy. Had it all planned out, everything, we were going in. She had, so the delivery day we were going in, right? So we were going in to have, hoping not to have a C-section, but pretty much assuming we were going to have a C-section because she had one prior. So we went in, everything. She started having really bad pain. They had said she was not dilating enough, so they sent her home. So we went back home. She was in a lot of pain. We took her back. They couldn't find the baby's heartbeat. So they were like, so they bought out the ultrasound, and they were looking in there, and they had completely dislodged the baby. The baby was gone. But now they were like concerned about her health because it had been so long that all of her organs in the surrounding area had all been like ripped or torn, and she had some scar tissue on her bladder from her uterus from her prior C-sections that really made a mess. So like literally I'm in this room. They're like, we lost the baby's gone, but now I need to take her into immediate operation because we're probably going to lose her too. That's like what I'm hearing, like for the first. So like, I'm just like in complete meltdown. Like I don't even know, like in shock basically. And kind of thankful for that though, because it kind of kept me in check, and I had, just a real rough spot to be in for sure. So then they took her off. The doctor came out and told me basically like her uterus he's going to pull it out. She's going to have a full hysterectomy or whatever they call that. So that was what we kind of went in, and I was kind of like, well, I mean, just save her life. I don't need to hear it, just go do your thing. So he comes back out and he said, I don't know how, and I don't know why, but I was able to put her uterus back together. He goes, it's probably one of the most toughest things I've ever done, like as far as like technical, like trying to piece it all together. It was a mess. He's all, but I gave it a shot. I figured why not, and it seems to be holding up. Should be okay. She'll be coming out from surgery in like an hour. Blah blah blah. So that was a heavy blow for our family. That put us all in a really dark spot for sure. This was like the end of 2017, December. It was like a week after, like a couple days after Christmas, the 28th. So it was like, man, it was tough. So we were in the hospital together for, I was with her while she was still in the hospital recovering for like 4 or 5 days. And it's kind of strange, but they brought in the baby and let us grieve it and kind of have it. And so we actually had the baby in the room for like a day. And it was such a weird process. That whole thing was just like, I know, like, it's one of those things we were talking backstage where you don't know how you react in certain things, but you think you do. And, if that happened to me, I would, blank. But, No, it was actually, looking back, it was probably one of the best things, because it just kind of like made it real and final, I guess.
Okay.
Whereas I don't know if that would have been the case if I had not seen him.
Yeah,
And
that closure helped.
Yeah, right. And I
Begin the
feel like
healing right
it would
away.
be like an unknown in my head always.
Just
Like,
staying, yeah.
yeah, right. So I got to like experience that. And so yeah, coming out of that was really rough, especially on my wife. And it led to a lot of emotional breakdowns and problems. And it really was hard on her. I mean, understandably, it was hard on me too, but I think that I was also trying to toe the line as, someone's got to be somewhat coherent and strong in this, as far as, making decisions and trying to hold everything together. So
that's the thing with men too, man. Like, I don't want to say it, but we tend to, I don't want to say disassociate, but you kind of do with the situation, because you have to carry on.
Oh yeah, and I think all men are to an extent, but especially me. I'm a big internalizer. So like and I think that comes from being when I was younger, I was diagnosed with like all of these behavioral issues, ADHD, OCD. I was a very hyperactive kid, and my parents didn't know how to deal with it. And so I went to psychiatrist after psychiatrist. I was put on prescription drugs on and off for a long period of time. So there's like a part of me that just kind of like distance myself from that aspect of like therapy and stuff, is like, and I'm such an internalizer. I've learned to be that because of that, I guess. And yeah, so like I'm doing all of this stuff inside, but I'm not showing it to the world, and that can be a problem too, because then you don't look like you're mourning it. Like, why aren't you upset? Why aren't you sad? Why aren't you? And it, that leads to a whole nother problem, problem upon problem, man, of just trying to dig ourselves out of that hole, for sure. So, his name was Sybil. My wife chose the name. She was named after, you all hear the story of like Paul Revere, and he went around yelling that the British were coming. But there was a young girl that actually, went and told more people in more towns that the British were coming than Paul Revere. And her name was Sybil, I think it was Lugman or Ludwig or something like that. Okay. But she was like this lost story that we never hear about, basically. And it was actually through one of the kids' classes that they learned about this character and this person of history. And she really liked the name. And it took a long time for me to this was like a couple of years before he was even a thing. We would talked about this name. So it took me a long time to agree to it, because I did associate it with more of a feminine sounding name and stuff. And, but it grew on me. I liked it. So when he passed, that name was really solid. Like, it had been a foundation for what, we had been calling this baby that hadn't even been born yet, So I wanted to do something that I felt like would inspire me to do well, but also keep me like in line. So like, I'm not letting this fail. There's just no way in hell it's gonna fail, dude. Like,
and that's what I was gonna bring out. Like, you talked about that moment where it kind of gave you the closure. It came to the realization. That was kind of like the shining light down by building this brand that you have now. This is your way to give homage to your son that you weren't able to raise up.
Correct. And so like, I'm trying to figure out what the hell I'm going to do with the rest of my life, because I've done all these jobs and I've always worked for other people and stuff. And, I had a real mind shift, change at that point too, where I started realizing that like, I need to do something for, like, I want to build my dream and create freedom for my children, economic freedom for my children, put them in a position where they can do what they want when they find a passion of their own, whatever it may be, that they're going to be in a position, because I've put myself in a position to help finance that, or help them, realize these things and see them to, fulfillment and stuff. So that's been kind of like the mindset shift. And at this time, I didn't even know what I wanted to do, but this was like the new mindset. Like, I need to figure it out. So kind of flipping back to the beginning of this whole conversation was like, I started asking myself, what do I love to do? What are my passions? And, it came back to animals. I didn't really touch on it too much, but when I was younger, I used to catch anything and everything I had in my yard, and garter snakes, alligator lizards, fence lizards, salamanders, and I would keep them in I'd fill up these 55-gallon trash cans, halfway with dirt. And then I would build little caves and put logs and stuff and basically build my own little outdoor terrarium setups. And I would just put lizards in there. And they were literally, when I was 8 years old, I had lizards laying eggs and breeding, and little baby lizards crawling out of them and stuff. Like what the hell, And
you were breeding before you were ready to be a breeder.
Yeah, I was 8 years old. I didn't even know what I was doing. It just happened, And so part of the losing my son kind of made me self-reflect on my entire life and what I really enjoyed, and it was always animals. So, and that's what sucks about life too, is you get caught up in all that. And you get caught up in trying to have a decent job so you can support your family, because that's the most important thing as a man. And you get caught up in that rat race, and you get caught up in thinking that if you just get a good salary working for somebody else, then you're but that's not it, man. For me, that's not it. I mean, that's great and all, and trust me, that's kept me alive and kept me moving my entire life. But I just reached that point where I'm I just want something bigger. And if I fail at it, dude, I fail at it, but I'm definitely going to do it, because I don't want it to pass. And I don't want to be 80 years old and saying why didn't I do something? So
that's been probably one of the hardest things for me to articulate to my wife is, she looks at it and she's like, yeah, I see the animals and I see the pretty colors and the designs that you get on them, but I don't understand why you're so obsessed. And I was like, it's not just for me. Finally, even when you're working for someone else, you have that drive to do well because you want to provide for your family. I don't care what people think, especially as a man. Like you said, especially as a man, that's,
yeah.
For the longest time, that was our whole being, right? It was you have to provide for your family as a man. You have to do everything to make sure that they succeed. And finally, you're doing something within your power where, like you said, it's either make or break, but it's on you, and you can set your family up for great success throughout the rest of their lives, and hopefully generationally beyond that. Or if you fail, hey, there's always going back to someone else or trying something different, because maybe you have it in you, but it just wasn't exactly the right thing at that time.
Right.
So,
and going back to the whole parenting thing too, is I wish I had somebody like me in my life when I was growing up that was business oriented, because I grew up thinking, and it wasn't somebody was telling me it, but it was just the way the life was. I thought you go out, you either go to a trade school, you go to college, or you find a job somewhere and you get this job and you just work up that ladder, and that was success. That's the American dream. That's how I was raised. And I feel like a dummy because I didn't realize that it wasn't that until way later in life. And a part of me is man, that probably set me back. But another part of me is no, this is all happening exactly how it should have,
It always does, man. Always
yeah,
does.
100%. I'm a true believer in that. Nothing happens on accident. It's all got purpose, man. Everything.
100%.
Everything.
So you grew up around exotics. You decided to come back to your family and work part-time in exotics.
Yeah.
And then you chose to breed exotics for you and your family. What drove you to choose ball pythons of all things? There's so many species.
Yeah.
Why did you pick the lazy ball python?
Well,
I love them too.
For me, it was so I did a lot of research building up to this. So going back to 2017, 2018, I kind of started looking at I had different ideas. I wanted to start a business. That was my main focus, honestly. It didn't even have anything to do with the animals so much, but I started incorporating the animals. I thought about maybe doing a web store for supplies. I could just fill my garage and my spare rooms with, stuff and sell it online. I was thinking of just different ideas. I started looking at animals. I discovered Morph Market. looking at corn snakes actually, and I had corn snakes a few times growing up and like later and stuff. Backing up to when I was married to my ex-wife, she absolutely hated reptiles, so I'd never had reptiles that entire like 15-year period. I had saltwater tanks. I did like saltwater reef, coral tanks and stuff. I did that just as a hobby though. I mean, it did nothing but cost me a lot of money. It was not anything that was like business oriented or anything. But yeah, I just was like, man, looking at all these corn snakes thinking, wow, these are cool and stuff. And then I had remembered like ball pythons back in the day when I was a lot younger. And I remember like there was like, these certain one, like just like there wasn't a lot. It was like albino. And I remember hearing about banana and stuff. Pied, when you'd see these things and stuff. So that was all I knew about ball pythons. So I stumbled upon on Instagram, actually, Justin's page, and started seeing some of these crazy patterns. And I was like, whoa, what is going on here? So I went down that rabbit hole with the ball pythons. And, I think it really is the mutations, like the combinations that you can make that really attracted me to them, because I was seeing these snakes that had like 8 different names. And I'm just like, whoa, okay, hold on a second, like, and going back to like the pheasants and stuff, obviously they're different species. They're like different animals. They're not like a morph of each other. There's all different colors. I think that aspect of the colors, and then also with a lot of the ringnecks my dad had, there was mutation. So there'd be like melanistic ones that were all black. There would be ones that were blonde. There would be ones that were pure white. So I think just the familiarity of that, when I like, that's what I was looking for in the ball pythons, like in snakes in general. And it just kind of started off as like something I was going to try and breed. And then one day it just clicked and I was like, man, this is what I should do. This can be done. There's guys doing this right now. If I, buy a collection or get a collection going, start off with hatchlings, grow them up, then 2-year investment, 3-year investment, I could be, making some money doing this. It was all really kind of like on a whim. Like there was no like business plan. And in the beginning, it was no like, strategy at all. It was just,
so you just went out there and just like started grabbing stuff up.
Yeah. Because no, not even that. I mean, like I researched for a very long time. And at first, yeah, I was like looking at, I was thinking I could buy like 300 ball pythons, like, $300 a piece. Like I was thinking about like how I didn't have any idea like how stupid that was, lucky for me though, I inquired on a pair or a group from Sebastian from Sybil Serpents.
Yep.
Okay. So to back up a little bit, I had put some money into some Bitcoin and other stuff back in 2016, 17, Dogecoin, a whole bunch of stuff like.
So you got on the stuff when it was still like super low before.
It was still pretty low, yeah. So I had that stuff sitting, and around the time of COVID, it's so funny because right before COVID hit, I had sold it. I wish I would have kept it longer, but I still made a grip of money at that point. I sold a bunch of it at that point, and that's what I funded my first projects, was with strictly from that money. And basically lived for an entire year. That was when my son was born. I basically had, I didn't have to worry about anything. I had, I was in a good spot, and I was buying snakes, buying ARS racks, getting everything together. Yeah. So back to Sebastian, he, I hit him up. I was talking to him about some combination stuff I wanted to work with. And, for all he knew, I was just a window shopper or a tire kicker.
Right.
But he actually was like, I talked to him. I was just messaging him on Morph Market, and he's like, "Do you want to like talk on the phone?" I was like, "Sure." Like we set up a time. I talked to him. We talked for like an hour and a half, and the guy went above and beyond for somebody had not dropped a dime with him, and he didn't know anything about what kind of money I had or what I was looking like to actually buy and stuff. But he really set me straight. So I had like a 3-month period where I was just talking to Sebastian about future projects, about, things that like where the market's headed. So this is in like the beginning of 2020. And, you know, Sebastian is really good friends with Justin. So he got me in with Justin too. I bought a bunch of stuff from Justin originally, but I seriously, that guy probably has more to do with what I have now today and my mindset than anybody else in the industry. And also like the kindness that he showed me by doing all that with no guarantee that he was going to make any money off of me. And I appreciated that from a business perspective. And he's, you know, I call him a friend. He's a good guy. We talk, you know, we don't talk as much as we used to because I have less questions now, you know, but yeah, he definitely helped. And so, yeah, I just went from there. I started buying, I bought a group from him. I bought like 7 or 8 snakes from him. At the same time, I bought a bunch of stuff from Justin, mostly double het DG Clown girls, all hatchlings, a couple other het clown stuff. Yeah, that was the beginning of everything really. And I trip out of how quickly it just all kind of came apart. Like even my logo and all that stuff, it was like, you know, I'm like, man, should I even be making a logo right now? I don't even have like, but I was like, I thought about it, and I thought about it from a business perspective. Is like, wouldn't you want to, especially the way I was strategizing this whole thing was I wanted to have a brand. I wanted to have an image that you would see and know. Like you didn't have to read anything. You didn't have to see anything else. If you just saw that image, you would know, kind of like what Billy has with the eye, or, you know, Justin, well, now he has whatever that is, the inverted open box or whatever for the K, you know, like whatever that is, like you see that, you know, it's Canova, you know, everyone has like their, you know, but I wanted it simple.
Yeah. You wanted that symbol that people can associate with.
And I think honestly, that really was really helpful for me because I've been able to build an Instagram and my morph market and stuff. And, you know, fast forward 2.5, 3 years now, it's like, you know, I've kind of built my name up to my like what I'm producing now. I'm producing, so now people are associating that with that image that they've been seeing for the last 3 years. So I think it actually worked out in my favor. I'm not a big supporter of like making stickers and shirts and stuff and throwing it out there when you haven't bred anything yet. But at the same time, I think there's something to be said about like,
you don't want to sticker swap, bro? You don't want to sticker swap everyone?
No, I did that like for a little while, like in the beginning, and I realized like this was like, I didn't even do anything with the stickers. I just have them in a box, man. I was like, okay, I got like 8,000 stickers in a box. You know, I start handing them out to my kids and stuff, you know, when they did good. But no.
No, I do it, man. Like, I feel it. I've never asked for anything for stickers. Like, I like to throw them out to people.
Oh yeah, I do stickers. I put them in my boxes when I ship out. I take them to shows. I definitely don't have a problem throwing those out, especially the kids.
I probably spend more money on stickers at shows than I spend on anything.
Right.
That sounds horrible.
Yeah, I just wait for like one of those companies like Sticker Mule or whatever to have like a little promotional, like 50 stickers for $19 or something. You know, I'll buy them from when they do those little promotional things.
So I got to tell you, when I was setting this up and I was telling everybody, hey, like we have some of the same circle, but a lot of people that I asked a couple questions, and there was one resounding question that everyone said, I have to ask you.
Okay.
And
who's everyone?
I can't tell you all the names. I could tell you backstage. I'm not going to call them out loud.
Is it like 5 guys?
There's a couple. There's a few. Yeah. I got to know what is it exactly that's growing in your beard?
What exactly is it that's growing in my beard?
Because I heard different species of animals growing in your beard.
It's true. Yeah, at different points of my life, there have been different critters that have called this home.
What's the ongoing joke with this? I'm trying to figure it out because someone said like a hobbit. Earlier.
We do this little game in our group chat where we'll shoot a picture of something and it'll be like completely ridiculous, and we like name the breeder. And Troy's really good at it. Troy nails them all the time. He gets them all the time. It's funny. But yeah, we'll throw like pictures of like for Troy, I always try to find a picture of like an ugly ass troll because that's like the closest thing to Troy. So like I'll do that. Or like Andrew, like I thought about this today. A picture of baby Huey in a diaper. It's perfect for Andrew, dude. Perfect. That's right, Andrew.
Oh,
I said it.
Okay. See, you were all worried about that special question. That was a special question.
Yeah, that was. I thought it was gonna be a lot worse.
Nah.
I thought they were gonna bring out the big guns on that one. I was like,
Family friendly.
Yeah.
Something like that. So let's kind of jump into it, man. You decided to invest fairly heavily starting out.
Yeah.
And you've had like an outrageous amount of luck, which I applaud you for. Like the way you hit these combos are insane. But let's talk about the projects that you're working and why you kind of chose those projects, man.
Well, so there's some things that I got into that I'm no longer in. Like I had a Holy Grail project going on. I produced one clutch. And then I've sold all the breeders. I have a few of those babies left, some males. But what really got me going was Desert Ghost. So, I mean, obviously Clown is a super popular, like staple recessive that everyone should or does have. But when I saw Desert Ghost and the different combos, I was like, all right, this is something that I want to do. And like I was saying earlier about Sebastian, is he kind of really pointed me in the right direction. I mean, it's not like, people that have been around even in 2020 knew that double recessive, that was the way to go. Like, it wasn't like, but for me being outside of this coming in and him kind of cluing me in on all that stuff, it really took a, I've seen a lot of different genes, but that one really like took me like, I was like, wow, I really want a Desert Ghost. So I invested heavy in girls on that project. I just got as many double hets that Justin had at the time. Females, I bought them all.
That's a smart move.
And then I was looking at the time, Monarch was like, I mean, it's still not, it's hardly tapped, but at that time it was even less, So that was one that Sebastian kind of, put in my ear about, and there was a lot of conversation back then that it was the same as Ultramel. So it was kind of a gamble, but it was also like I'd seen some Monarch stuff. I felt it looked different enough. I wanted to get into something that was like cutting edge, like something that a lot of people weren't working in. I wanted to have one of those kind of projects, and that's what I settled on. I was looking at Monsoon, I was looking at Puzzle, and I was looking at Monarch as kind of like one of those genes that's kind of like has something about it that people aren't too sure. It's not tapped in, like I know with Monsoon, there's a lot of people worried about it being so powerful that it just overtakes any of the pattern changing stuff. So I went with that. I decided to go with that. So those are the two main projects that I actually have. And over the years, I've added some stuff here and there. I got some Ultramel hypo stuff that's coming that I'm basically putting a double visual male to all of my hypo and all of my Ultramel girls, kind of combining that project a little bit. And yeah, I got some stuff that I get to use, I start making these babies. I can start, making triples and stuff. Hoping next season I'll be able to start making some triple het stuff or like visual double hets. I got a couple chances this year to hit some hypo DG clown, basically visual DG and then het hypo clown. So, yeah.
And you're only 2 years in, right? Like you're 3 years in.
3 years, yeah. So basically,
That's
like 3 years,
insane, bro.
Yeah, I didn't. So what? 2020, end of 2021, I got my first eggs. I only got a couple clutches, 2 clutches, and then that following year, it just kind of ran into itself, and I did 2 more clutches, and then I didn't have anything until the end of this year, which is 2022. So yeah, and then I had like 8 clutches at the end of this year. In fact, the last clutch of 2022, I just cut. It was laid at the end of December at some point, and I just cut it. So I'm wrapping up that season. I know some people count seasons differently, but I like to count it when she laid. It makes more sense because that's what you're going to use next year when you pair her, is the dates she laid and all that stuff.
How big is your collection right now? Like
It's not really that big. I think I have.
Well, I see like 3 different racks behind you. So
Yeah, but this one's completely empty. This is, or wait,
Oh.
yeah, this one's completely empty. So this one is.
Run!
I got it set up, ready to go, dude. Because this season I'm gonna need to fill it because this one right here is completely full. So, I think I have like 100 maybe, and probably 40 of those are like breeder size, and probably 32 of those are female. And then I just have a lot of hold up. So like I've been buying. I have those main projects, so I've just been buying pieces and parts to do stuff over the last couple of years, which is cool. Like I don't know. I there's a lot of things I wish I would have gotten early. Like I wish I would have gotten the puzzle sooner. That's one I feel like I screwed up on. So I've been adding puzzle. I've been doing. I got a couple puzzle clown stuff. I should have a clown visual clown pause het puzzle clutch this year. We'll see how that goes. They're pairing and they're actually locked right now. But
well, with your luck, they're gonna just pop up visual puzzle too. So
yeah, well, we'll see. I don't know if how lucky I don't know. It's like that all came apart because about because I had hatched out a Monarch Clown clutch and we'd all thought I hit a Monarch Clown and it did look like it at first, but it ended up not being a Monarch Clown. So I'm like, all this talk about all of this talk about my luck is like, okay, yeah, I mean, I got lucky a couple times, I think, but
so what that one end up being? It was just like a Monarch,
just a
clown,
wacky clown. So it's weird. Like you've seen the two-faced clowns, right? Where they almost look like two different snakes, like split down the middle. This snake has that in its pattern. So if you go down its back on one side, it's got all kinds of drops and the alien heads and stuff and the alien eyes or whatever. And on the other side, it's just like almost like a reduced pattern with no drops. It's weird. And then it's got like holes in the dorsal where there's like a non-clown dorsal going down. It's weird. It is the weirdest looking snake. So we'll see. I'm hoping it's like a head influence for Monarch and it proves out. Okay. That one's a girl. But yeah, as far as hitting clown in those clutches, I got real lucky. I think I hit a 3.2 visual clown in that project. So they're all 66% hit Monarch. So I'm hoping to get a Monarch test because I want to prove all that out before I sell any of that because it's I only hit 4 females total out of both clutches, mostly males. So yeah, I want to definitely prove out. I definitely want to get those females tested because I'm going to make sure I hold back something.
Even outside of just the Monarch project, though, like you put double heads together, and
no, the DG clown is visual clown het DG to a bunch of double heads. So
that makes me feel better.
Yeah, no, that literally like increases your odd, like cuts your odds in half. Like it goes from like 1 in 16 to like 1 in 8 by just having a visual of 1 on one side. So it's not as lucky as they said. I think I hit 4 DG clowns this last year.
Out of how many clutches though? 4?
3 clutches. So I got one in each clutch, and then 1 clutch I got 2. So I guess that's pretty lucky. I guess. I don't know. I don't only know what I know. I don't know how often the other people are hitting it.
So like, we all have those trying moments, and you kind of started out with Showcase, and you had your own personal trials and tribulations leading up to this. But what was one of those defining moments for you in your 3 years of breeding so far, where it was like, how do I get through this? Like, I know some people, they get hit by like that person that didn't take care of their animals, or they said they take care of their animals and they sent it through the mail and it magically got mites, or like they got that RI right away that they didn't know how to take care of because they didn't do enough research. What was like one of those defining moments when you were first starting out where you're like, what am I doing here and how do I get through this?
Man, I don't really know if I had anything snake related to that. I did meet a person through my local pet shop, the one I work at now. I met him, and it ended up being a really bad dude. Ended up ripping me off on some. I used to breed geckos for a little while, and ended up getting ripped off on a big package deal that I bought from. We both went in on it, and he ended up like basically he went in there and took like the best 8 geckos out of the entire package, and like replaced them with other geckos and gave me and said, "All right, here they are. Let's split them up." And I found out about this like 6 months afterwards. So like, I think like trying to get to know people and know if you can trust them. Right. I think that's been one of the things, but I've been super fortunate to like, I don't even know how I hang out with all these guys, but like Antoine, Andrew, Troy, Jerome, Josh, from Python Shed. I mean, all those guys have been like amazing. And like, you know, Andrew and all those guys, Troy, Antoine, those are like my good friends, like in life, not just snakes, you know, and very fortunate to have that in. So, I mean, I guess, you know, to meet one asshole out of, you know, I'm doing pretty good still. So it's not such a setback, but
it's one of the hardest things too. Like that's one of the things that kind of drove me in to the thought of this, man, was like, just, you got to get to know people. Like I was saying at the beginning of this, is there's so much outside of just the reptiles. Like you found your group, right?
Oh, 100%.
Don't just talk snakes. You don't just talk like life, but it's a regular everyday conversation, which is huge.
Yeah, Troy will call me up and be like, "Hey, man, you know, you kind of sounded down and out, or I haven't heard from you in a couple of days. I just want to check on you as a friend." You know, Troy's done that multiple times, and like Andrew and I, along with our other friend Tony, he's another. By the way, Tony is another guy. He's an up and comer. He's like where I was in the beginning of 2020. He's like building his collection right now. That guy's gonna destroy like ball python breeding. Like the things he's got coming as a newbie and such a small. I think he's got like 40 snakes, but I mean they're all bangers. Every single one of those snakes is like, you know, a dream snake that Justin has for sale or something. You know, so he's going to be really blown up. But yeah, going back to it, the three of us we're starting a rat business, doing like a local delivery. Yeah, so we've started breeding. We've got some Freedom Breeder racks on the way. We're right now we're kind of winging it with some do-it-yourselves, but yeah, we're hitting it hard for the Southern California area, and we're definitely going. So like, yeah, it's amazing. Like I think about all these friendships that I have now that are so solid. 3 years ago, like didn't even know any of these people or having anything to do with my life, and now these are like my closest friends. You know, a lot of my older friends from, you know, have all, you know, for one reason or another, we've kind of drifted apart, whether it's raising families or, you know, they went down a different path that I didn't want to follow. You know, I have a lot of that in my background with some friends.
How many people like jumped on and just became a hater instantly when you started showing that you were going to be a snake breeder?
Oh, like any normal person in my life. They were like, you could always get this, like, you could tell, like, they're like, "Oh, what are you doing?" And then they're like, "Oh, cool." But it's like, you can tell that, "Oh, cool" is like, "Oh, okay, weirdo," kind of, you know what I mean? My parents were like, my mom especially, she thought I was just a dumbass. Like she still, like, when I tell her, like, you know, I sold a snake at the Vegas show for X amount of dollars, and my mom looks at me and goes, "I cannot believe there's someone that stupid to pay that much for a snake." They still don't believe it's a thing. Like and that's just how my mom is. My mom is very blunt and very, like, you know, opinionated and doesn't have a problem telling you about it.
That's a good thing. It keeps you grounded.
Yeah. Yeah. And then my dad's the complete opposite. My dad's like, you know, which is weird because my dad was like a wounded veteran from Nam. You know, like you would think he's like this firecracker guy, but he's really like the opposite. He's like the most chill, mellow. You'd think he got high all day. Like, I mean, he's completely sober, but he's just like straight lace and like even killed and just like a great dude, you know? So he's always been supportive. He's always asking me about how's it going and stuff. And I really appreciated that. He's cool. But yeah, everybody that I talk to, until I start showing them numbers or I start showing them things and stuff, their first thing is like, they've never even thought it was a thing. Like selling snakes, what? You know, breeding snakes, I didn't even know that's a thing.
My family, man, they freaked out when I initially said what I was doing. So
Yeah.
my mom's always hated snakes, like hated snakes. We grew up in the desert, so all she knew about snakes was, hey, we have rattlesnakes, and they killed their horse when it was young, and she was younger, and it's just you stay away from snakes. Like snakes are the epitome of all things evil, right?
Yeah.
And so it
Oh,
took
yeah.
a long time to even get her to come into my house after I started bringing them in. Like I had them as a kid in her house.
Yeah.
As soon as that first wave, she was like, "Oh, thank God, no more." And when I said what I was gonna do, and she was just like, "No, no." And it probably took her a year to come back into my house, honestly.
Wow.
But my dad, before my mom and him got together, had a big old albino Burmese for years, and then
Oh, wow.
he got out of it, and I told him about it, and he was like, well, that's cool, but I don't think you're gonna make any money off of that. And I started showing him everything. Not that it's about the money, but like obviously when we want to be successful.
Yeah.
And he's like, I finally found like my passion. Like my passion has always been reptiles, always been snakes specifically since I was a kid.
Right.
And they saw it. I told you the kids were gonna break it.
Yeah, you did. Called it.
So like I told him, and he was just like, I don't know about it. Like, and he's watched it grow, and like everything I've done, I've never gotten any help. I've done it all myself. And now I'm like opening tubs while I'm video chatting him so he can talk to the grandkids, because he lives all the way across the country. And he's just like, oh, that's really cool. And he's like, you're seeing like the intrigue and like the excitement grow in him as he's seeing this blow up. And it's just like,
yeah, they kind of it is with my dad. Like my dad's actually come over and like come in my room and check stuff out, and like he shows interest. Like it may not even really interest him, but he shows it, because he sees that I'm interested in it, so it's cool. And he, like I said, he's been doing this breeding thing with birds his whole life, so he sees the correlation. He understands it. We talk. He thinks it's kind of cool how it's eggs, but it's like the complete opposite, because with chicken eggs you got to rotate them as they're incubating, right. Whereas snake eggs you don't want to. You want them stationary. You don't want them rolling. You don't want them moving. So there's a lot of similarities and a lot of differences, and he gets a kick out of that, talking to him about that stuff. What happened?
They're going off about your Vegas and not buying them in and out, and now it's like not buying a steak or something like that.
Why you got to bring up old stuff, Troy? I bought you old spaghetti house.
Oh man!
Last time you were out here in Pomona.
So who kind of brought you up into it? Like you said, Showcase helped you kind of figure out where you wanted to take this, but like, who have been some of the people that have helped mentor you along the way and make, like, I know with the person that I'm helping here, he very much has that mentality that I had when I first jumped in, right? Where it's just like, oh, pretty snake, oh, pretty snake, oh, pretty snake.
Yeah.
And I'm like, dude, this is your project. Just stay focused. Like, I don't care if you bring other genetics in, but make sure this project is tied into it somehow.
Right.
Who are those people for you?
Well, so early on, I found Billy, and Billy was doing so before his Patreon that I started following him, but then he started his Patreon, so I was like, oh, that's perfect. So I did that for a while, and Billy was really instrumental, like in helping me. Like we talk and message, and he helped me like just with like the everyday things, like the husbandry and all that stuff. I kind of learned on the fly. I mean, obviously I did the research, but you don't really know until you do it, until you put your hands into it and start actually doing it. And, just like basic stuff, asking about cocoa and how to keep humidity up and stuff. Billy was really helpful there. Justin actually was really helpful. Not so much early on. Later on, when I started having clutches and stuff, he was really instrumental in helping me figure out what I had, because I had some weird clutches, man. I had like my first couple clutches were from a Inchy Black Pastel Fire Yellow or Fire Red Stripe male, and I was pairing it to like Ivory Spot Nose Inchy Possible Red Stripe Fire Orange Dream pet clowns, and just a bunch of weird stuff. So I was hatching out stuff. I didn't like. My first clutch was insane. It was like possible like 7 gene combo, and I didn't know what I didn't know what I was looking at. So he was real helpful in that regard. Antoine from the get-go is another one that I found, and sort of along the lines of like people trying to find people close to me, because like Billy's in Canada, obviously there's not going to be much being able to like, hang out and meet and do stuff like that. That's not going to really happen. It's going to be few and far between, but I wanted to find someone local to where I could start building a base and like having people that, I can actually get to know and hang out with and stuff. So Antoine was one of the first guys that I saw and was attracted to, his channel, YouTube and stuff. And like, he was posting a lot more back then too. So there was a lot of content. Those guys were probably like, I still hit up Antoine for questions all the time. So like, and that's what's cool about our little group chats that we have with Troy and all them too, is like where it's like, no judgment. Like you can go in there and ask a really stupid question or ask something that, and no one's going to judge. They might make a joke about your beard or something, but you go get an answer one way or another. So it's cool.
That's awesome. So you said you're at like 40 breeders. What was kind of like your first year, and how have you planned on ramping it up each year? Like
my first year was just like
clutches and stuff.
My first year was like I didn't even know what I was doing. I only had a few females that were even big enough at that time, because I mean, you're talking, this was literally like a year and a half after I purchased some of them. So I had like 6 girls that I figured were big enough to start pairing, and out of those 6, I got 4 of them to go. But I didn't have no ultrasound. I didn't know how to palpate. I didn't know how to do any of the things. I didn't know what to look for. I mean, I knew there was like, heat seeking versus bull wrapping, cool seeking, feed response, shutting off of food. I knew all these things, but I didn't know, I couldn't tell you if something stopped eating because it didn't want to eat, or if it was like building, or, I didn't know what I was doing. So I was pairing a lot more than I should have, making sure I got locks. And then I just got lucky, man. I hit that. And then right as that season ended, I started having all of these other girls that I had been growing up. They all seemed to kind of like go at the same time. They were starting to pair, they were starting to build. And then that's when I got my ultrasound. I realized I needed one 100%, because there was one clutch that like I walked in the room and looked and I was like, oh, you have eggs. Like I didn't even know she ovulated. I didn't even know she was, so I was like, I need the ultrasound. So I got an ultrasound. I used that last year, and that really helped me be able to like, now I don't even really use it as much. I'll use it every couple of months, but it taught me, when I see this behavior, this is probably where they're at. It taught me, that's that aspect of it. So now I kind of just, I'll ultrasound when I'm really trying to like find out when I can get that last pairing in, or checking new girls to see if they're starting to build. And then once I see that progression and build, I don't touch them. I pair them. I don't ultrasound them. I'll wait like a month and see where they're at, just to get that last pairing in. But it was like this past season, I had like 2 clutches right at the beginning of the year. They hatched in like March, and then I had nothing until I think the next clutch to hatch was like late October. So
that's a long way, bro.
Yeah. So like I had this long period of like, I kind of had this moment where I was kind of freaking out. Like I was like, am I doing something wrong? Like what's going on? Like, why did, and then I was thinking, oh, maybe it's just seasonal and all this stuff. And actually it was Antoine I don't even think it was like me and him talking. It was just Antoine talking on like a podcast in the chat. And he just types something along the lines of like, hey, if, cause I was like, oh man, they're not going to go. I stopped pairing. And Antoine's like, no, don't stop pairing. Keep going. He was talking to someone else. And I was like, oh, that's a good idea. So I started pairing. And that's what happened is I got all of those, all those girls I paired at the, the middle of the year. They were all the ones that went at the end of the year. And I'm so glad I did it, because I wasn't going to do anything. I was going to like hold off and wait till, the fall to pair again. Cause that's one thing that sucks when you get in and there's so many people with so many different ways of doing things, and no one's necessarily wrong or right. But in certain aspects, there are wrongs, like you can breed year round. You can get a girl to go whenever she's ready to go. It doesn't necessarily have to be like a seasonal thing or a timing thing at all. So I was fortunate because if I didn't see Antoine say that to somebody else, I probably would not have paired him, you know?
You would have just had that.
And I got like
5 clutches and
I ended up getting 8 clutches, you know, out of that decision to start pairing again, you know?
yeah.
So
It's huge, bro.
So this year, I got, like I said, I got that last one I cut from last season, but I have a spot nose yellow belly het clown girl that I paired to a clown het DG. So there'll be possible het DGs in either visual or 100% het clown. She'll be the first to lay. She's, I think, next week or something. It'll be like day 32 next Friday.
Nice.
So, yeah.
You need a whole new rack just for your DG clown project.
Well, that's why I bought these other ones. So I have this one here, and on the other side of this one is a 5540. And then these are actually 1065s, but I bought extra levels, so they're like 1080s. So 160. So this one's completely full almost. There's like a couple of empty spots. Yeah, that's what I got these for. It was like basically those 2 projects. Is like the DG clown and the Monarch clown stuff. It's gonna take that much holdbacks, man, especially with this year coming up and everything. So I had sold some stuff and I reinvested that money right away in stuff that I knew I wasn't going to need for a while, but I'd rather have it and be prepared and not have to worry about that extra cost later down the road when I may not have it, you know? So I set myself up for the future. It was something I discussed with my wife too. It was like, you know, I said in the beginning, nothing was strategic, but as I got into this, everything became super, super like on paper, like, you know, coming up with numbers, crunching numbers, figuring out what I'm going to need, you know, how many hatchlings I'm going to have, how many of those that I'm probably going to hold back, you know, what's it going to take to build this project up. And so I knew what I could do in this small room. And this is a very small room. It's pretty crazy how I got all this in here, but I did somehow. And,
what are you working out of?
What do you mean? It's just a spare room.
Like square footage.
Oh, probably like 110.
110? All right.
Maybe 110 with the closet. 100.
Welcome to my living space.
Yeah, literally, that's what I have. I'm like this far apart, you know, like from this just enough to open these. Can open just enough before they hit the one in front of it. You know, it's all.
Try
it's
having
all,
a recheck in the same room, bro. It's
worst
decision ever.
I used to keep my clothes. I used to keep my clothes and stuff in here because we have a really small closet in our master bedroom.
Yeah.
And then when I got the other racks, I was like, I can't do it anymore. I got to get, you know, sorry, honey. It's too much. There's no room, you know, and which sucks when I let it kind of run amok and I don't throw stuff away like I should. It gets so cluttered so quickly, like, you know, or when I have my rat tubs in here, I like built a shed outside to keep all of my shipping stuff and my rat tubs and stuff out of the room because that was becoming a problem. Is I'd have these stacks of tubs in the way, and so I'm trying to figure it out as I go. This is the max. I won't be able to do anything else. Maybe a hatchling rack on this table that I'm sitting at right now, but I can't go any other way unless I start going into the master room, which I've actually already started talking to the wife about. It's like, hey, you know,
I feel my wife yelling in the living room right now. If
It's like if I don't get a building in the next couple of years, I might have to put a couple racks in the bedroom. And she was actually kind of open to it because she's seen the money now. In the beginning, she was just like whatever, but now that she's seen like income coming in from it, and like she's like, okay.
What was that like when it first started out, though? Like, was there some pushback? Like, are you sure this is what you want to do?
I would know. I didn't have
a defining moment for her.
I didn't get any pushback at all. I got questions for sure, but she didn't really push back. She just, she was just like, okay, let's see how it goes. Let's see what happens. And she's not really into the snakes. She's not afraid of snakes or anything. She's had pet snakes growing up. But she's supportive of it for sure. And it helps being able to like show her like numbers and stuff. And like, you know, when she started seeing that, she really got supportive.
I bet when you're putting out DG clowns like they're candy.
She got real supportive of Amazon too. And
speaking of, did you move that group?
What?
Did you move that group that you were trying to move?
I moved the female
clown stuff.
I sold the female. She went to a local guy actually out here that's like a big burn breeder. So that was cool. I didn't have to ship it or anything. But yeah, I probably won't sell the male now, because I was kind of doing like if somebody wanted to buy them both, I'd make them a deal, but I was going to keep whatever didn't sell out of those two. And I could really use a visual male with all the females I have. I could do some crazy stuff next year. So I think it's best to hold that one back. But I don't know.
So let's talk about your rat game, bro. You said you.
Oh yeah. So
you and who? You, Andrew, and
me, Andrew, and our buddy Tony from Next Level.
Okay.
He's a new guy. He's just now building this collection. But like I said before, he's got I'm jealous, dude, of the stuff that he's got, dude. He makes my collection look like second rate, dude.
Or what was it? He's the one that picked up Brian's last Cindy's Entry Sunset, right?
Yeah, he did. He did pick that up. Yeah, he's got so many things like that. Like everything he's got is like, so he's got his main projects, but he's also got stuff like that you could plug into anything because it's a visual animal, visual female. I met him when he first got in. He was just kind of like going off of I kind of want to get into the DG Clown project, but I don't want to spend a lot. And then he caught the bug, and I was able to mentor him in the beginning, help him see the vision that the rest of us have seen or had to find out the hard way. So he definitely did everything right from the get go, and his collection will speak for itself in a couple of years, man. 100%.
No, he's got some beautiful stuff. I remember that video with Brian, and I was just like, man.
Yeah, so we got
damage.
So we started a little thing. We decided to work together on it. It started off as like, hey, why are we spending, $1,000 on rats every month when we could just, and it's something Andrew and I talked about for a while about just breeding our own rats. And he was offering his garage, and then it kind of just took off from that to what ended up happening was the local guy out here that is a producer of rats for a lot of breeders out here. He's leaving the industry. He's getting out.
You're talking about Brian.
Yeah. So it was just a crazy turn of events, like with what we were talking about. And then all of a sudden this was happening. And we're like, man, this just opened up a big opportunity for us. If we really, really wanted to do this and take it a step further and start selling rats, like we could really make a nice income from that and not have to have any more 9-to-5s or work part-time. We could really set ourselves forward and, let the snakes do their thing and not have to count on, the way I looked at it is like, I can hold back more snakes. I don't have to sell them as often, because I am in a position where I need to sell snakes. I'm not I don't endorse trying not to do this full time at my level, but I've made it work, but I've had to sell a lot of great stuff too that
I think that's one of the hard things that people don't understand either.
Yeah, it is hard, but it's part of the game. You got to figure it out. There's a happy medium, but that'll get centered much better for me with a steady income coming from the rats. But yeah, we just, and I like what I was saying earlier, nothing happens on accident, man. So I just saw that as dudes, we got to jump on this, dude. We have an opportunity. And Andrew saw it the exact same way. And, we talked to Tony about it, and Tony has been really adamant about him paying for rats too. So it's something that we talked about with him, and we decided to just plunge on in. So we bought 5 brand new Freedom Breeder racks that should be here in a couple of weeks. Nice. We bought some stuff off Brian to kind of hold us and start building up our colonies. But yeah, we're gonna be hitting it hard here in the next couple of months for sure. And
it goes fast, man. It goes fast.
Yeah.
I've doubled every couple of months.
Just what we have now, it's I'm over there maneuvering stuff, and we just have the concrete racks, and so it's we have a grow up rack that we were building, but it's not done yet. Andrew needed to get some stuff out of the storage, but we have so many grow ups, man. We have so many weans. So I've had to change the ratio of my breeding colonies and my maternity racks so that I could free up 2 more racks just to put all the babies I pulled last Wednesday or whatever. It's insane how it's going for us, so we're looking forward to that, man. It's going to be, something that, it's not work to me and Andrew. We just hang out and shoot the shit and listen to outlaw country and it's not really work. It's, I enjoy it. And obviously the load's going to get heavier and heavier as we move forward, but I'm looking forward to it.
When do you think you guys are you just gonna try to stay local to Southern
Well,
Cali, or what's the plan with that?
so I mean, initially we're trying to keep it as local as possible. We're obviously gonna ship all over, not ship, deliver all over Southern California. But we have talked about the possibility of doing like frozen thawed and doing the whole shipping thing. Obviously, that would have to come with, being successful at so many levels before we would get to that point. But I mean, it's something we definitely talked about, something that we would definitely look into when the time's right. Even just doing frozen thawed for delivery, or pickup too. Like that's something that I think would be a good idea. Have to invest in some freezers and all the good stuff, but I think that's a lot of people feed frozen thawed, so it's another market you can cap into.
Well, that's one of the things I did too. Is like, so I do it here locally, and I have a customer that gets large rats, jumbo rats, because he has boas, and I was like, well, I won't sell anything live over a medium.
Yeah,
Because I don't want to put someone's animal in that
yeah,
position. You know what I mean? Like,
that's when it gets
you want to,
yeah,
if you want to do that pre-kill yourself, like I understand, but that's not going to come from me. You're going to have to go buy from a pet store. Anything large and above gets frozen. And I'll give it to you frozen, and it'll be day before. Like, I always have some old breeders that are ready to go out, so I will kill the night before. I will freeze and I'll deliver it. So you get it like within hours of it.
Right. That's good. Yeah, that's the thing that we kind of run into, because we got these racks, and he had them all set up like just strictly colony breeding, no maternity, just like leaving the males in with the females at all times. And the way I had been learning from the reptile shop and some other people was doing like colonies in the maternity racks, but like colony maternity. So you have like 4 or 5 females in each one. So I've had to and me and Andrew both have had to kind of shift everything and fit everything. So we have at the bottom of one of the racks, there's like 4 tubs that are just full of 4 males, dude, because we have to move them out to make the maternity racks, basically, because it was all just colonies. So we're having that kind of growing pains, but once we get those freedom breeders in, we'll definitely be have all the space that we need, be able to actually add to our colonies and stuff. A lot of the grow ups we have now are probably going to be held back. If we get the racks in time, they'll probably be our next breeders, So we'll see.
I'm excited for it, man. I think
we're hoping to get up and running.
Idea, especially in
for sure, California. Man, there's such a dead space out here right now, and it's even before there was. I mean, a lot of guys are buying from reptile stores, and they're paying a lot more than
some crazy numbers coming. From earlier today, they said they were paying like $16 almost for a medium.
And Tony was paying a lot for. He only has 40 snakes. I get a good discount from the reptile shop because I've been going there for years. And even before I worked there, they were giving me pretty much the same discount. So it works out to where I think I'm at $250 to $300 a week with my discount, and Tony was paying almost more than half of that a week for 40 snakes. So I'm like, man, he was getting killed. So he was really excited about doing this. He didn't even care about anything but feeding. He's like, do whatever you guys want to do. I just want to feed my own. I don't want to have to pay for feeders anymore.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
I think you're kind of in that boat once you're especially if you're doing out in Cali, man. If you want any decent sized collection, you kind of just have to bite that bullet, whether you want to do rodents or not.
Yeah.
I know some people were going to 4 or 5. I think a Miguel size collection probably has to go to 6, 7 people to get his full feed for the week.
Yeah,
insane, man.
So that's kind of what we're trying to be, is we're trying to be dependable, because that's one thing. Even if you have a rat breeder, it's how many times have you gone there and tried to fulfill an order and they tell you they can't fulfill an order? And we're going to try to be the company that can fulfill your order. We're not going to take on a client unless we know we can fulfill her. I mean, heaven forbid something happens and those things can happen, but that's our intent. We want to be known as they got my rats, and I don't have to worry about it. So I've been down that road too.
You're telling Andrew all the secrets, man.
What's that?
Neither the reason Andrew was asking rat questions.
Oh,
I'm just playing. I hope you all the success, man. Like that, the area needs it 100%.
Yeah, for sure, man. It's bad. Yeah.
So let's kind of talk about your goals. You've talked about the snakes. You've talked about the upcoming rats. What specifically are some goals for you coming through not only this year but like the upcoming years, so that you set yourself up for success?
Oh man,
putting them on the spot, making them think. That's what we do here.
Did you say outside of the snakes?
Well, like you could talk about like the snake business, but like personal goals, snake goals. Like we heard about this rat, so obviously that's a huge goal to make that go.
Yeah.
So what's your focus going to be throughout the rest of this year outside of the rats? We'll say outside of the rats.
Okay, outside the rats. Okay. So I'm trying to, with the Desert Ghost Clown thing, I'm getting some new codoms into the mix this season.
Okay.
I'm trying to I really, really, really want to make some double visuals with some different codoms and stuff in it that, you can go on Morph Market right now, and I would say 90% of all the Desert Ghost clowns on there are like pastel, or there's not a huge grip amount of like codoms in the project, at least available. And so I kind of want to start doing stuff like that. I think that is an important aspect of this business too, is you can't just stay stagnant and say Desert Ghost Clown is enough. I need to get some other stuff in it. And you can take the route of, triple recessive stuff, adding like hypo or adding like puzzle to it. And I'm doing a little bit of that, but this year for me, it's about getting I want to get GHI red stripe. I got a lace female, double het female that's like rearing to go right now.
Okay.
I got my cousin in this about a year ago. Same thing, kind of like helped him build his projects up. So he's got this really cool male from Justin. It's a hypo clown double het DG pied. So we're gonna do some split pairings this season. His name's Aaron. He's with Prolific Pythons. We're going to do some split pairings because he doesn't have any girls really ready to go yet.
Right.
So I'm hoping to get some cool stuff out of that for me. And he's looking to recoup some of his investment. So it'll work out for both of us on that. But yeah, I'm really focusing on getting the codoms into the project. So I got she probably won't be ready this year, but I have a Confusion double het female. So I've got some stuff coming that that was kind of like my mindset. Like I wanted to get these other codoms in there. Kind of, I don't want to necessarily be the first, but I want to start doing stuff that's like a little bit more intricate than just the DG clown. Like I said, you go on Morph Market right now, there's nothing like that stands out in those groups right now. It's the same.
Well, you're gonna hit that, man, and I think that's the hard part of starting, especially a double recessive, right? Is everyone pushes so hard to initially hit that double recessive that when they start hitting it, it kind of I don't think there's ever going to be enough just regular DG clowns for the next couple of years anyways. No. But for you already have a group of them, so you're able to take that to the next couple of steps and really
thinking about where it's going to be in a year. Like you said, there's going to be a lot more out there. There's going to be a lot of DG clowns out there next year. This coming season, there's a lot of people that bought like I did that are going to produce like I did. And there's other people that have just recently got into it, whatever it may be, but it's going to be influxed with a lot of different, and so what's going to stand you apart? Like, guys are already doing triple quads, and that's cool. And I'm definitely working towards those goals as well. But I think that trying to get the more popular codoms into the mix instead of the basic stuff that a lot of people are pushing and are available at this time, I think will really help with my brand and my goals as far as making stuff too. Like you know, and then there's I've talked about this. I'm not even for sale, like just stuff I want to make personally that I want to see in my collection. You know, that's kind of where the mindset is. And then like having those, they're like ambassadors to your brand. Like when you post something that you made that's amazing, and everybody in the community sees it, and it's like it's marketing, man. Even if you don't sell that snake, but how many unknown dollars did that make you? You know, just because it spread your name, or it, you know, made somebody like follow you, and then a year later you make something that they buy because they followed you on one snake, you know? So there's a lot of aspects to it. It's not just selling. It's, you know,
I think you've done a great job at that too, man. Like you're very much so out in the community. You're almost everywhere. Like it's one of the things I'm horrible at. Like I divert everywhere,
yeah,
but I don't realize who's like, I'm one of those where I'll scroll through and I'll be like, oh, I like this snake. I like this snake. I like this snake. And I'll look at comments, but I won't think about it. And then I'll schedule someone and I'll be like, holy crap. They are like everyone's everywhere all the time. And we're all interacting, but we're not interacting the same. And
yeah.
it's like, I don't realize it until I schedule. I'm like, you're starting to do that research, right? Like, what are you jumping into?
Yeah.
What are your projects, stuff like that, so that you can have that conversation.
Right.
It's like, man, I don't know how we all like. I don't know. I put my phone down a lot because of it. Like, I get to the point where I'm just like, okay, I'll run through and I'll like a bunch of stuff today.
Yeah.
I'm over social media. But like the way some of y'all are always commenting, always liking, like every single post that pops up on my feed.
Yeah, I try to interact with stuff when I like something or I see someone that makes it. I like try to interact with that person and let them know, like, hey, that's a fire snake, dude. That's a great job. You know, I like seeing people like pushing the envelope and doing things. You know, like it's cool. Like, you know. Part of me is like, so there's like the aspect of where you chase certain things. So like a lot of people are chasing Pompeys and stuff. And I have a lot of Pompeii animals, but my mindset is I want to make desert ghost Pompeys. You know, I'm not trying to make, you know, and so when I see somebody that's making something that's similar to that or like in that vein, it like, right. You know, excites me. Like I'm stoked for it. I'm like, cool, there's somebody else working that project, you know, like that's cool. Like, so, you know, that I probably spend way too much time on social media as it is, you know, but I definitely like those are genuine. Like if I'm commenting on your post, it's because you caught my eye, man. That's a great animal, you know, for sure.
Oh, I love that, man. Like I just can't do it. Like me and myself, I got the 3 youngins and trying to keep up with everything. It's too much, but like,
it is too much.
I feel you on that. Like if there's a specific animal that just lines up, or there's something that I feel like I can actually contribute thought into, I love talking to people. I don't usually do it in comments. Like it was like you when you posted that story, right? And I was like, I can't believe you're freaking letting all that go, dude. And we started talking for a while, and I was just like,
yeah, no, I know. I mean, I get it. There's a lot that goes into those thought processes of selling stuff too. It's not just like I'm gonna wing it out there.
No, I love your stuff, Jerome. I'm sorry.
That's not true, Jerome. That's not true.
You just got quiet, man. That was the issue. Sell out? No, I'm just playing.
Yeah, right. No, I don't know. Like there's a lot that goes into it. I think about like what the market is right now and what the value is of it right now versus if I held on to it. And I mean, just like everything else, it's going to come down. In 2 years, you're not going to be getting, you know, 10K for a DG clown. Not a straight up. Like, you got some other stuff going in on it. Yeah. Okay. We'll talk. But, you know, so I just figured, you know, with the current market being what it is, it's not the best. Not necessarily the snake market in general, but just, you know, the economy in general is not nearly as well doing as well as it could. And a lot of people are holding back on funds and spending money on things. And typically things like ball pythons are like, you know,
in the background. Yeah.
They're not I think dinner tonight, you know, what are we going to eat tonight is more important than ball pythons for a lot of people. Weird to me though. I mean, I'd rather spend it on ball pythons than eat, but that's just me. But, No, so I kind of looked at it that way too. I said, I can hold on to it and I can make some cool stuff with it, but I already have a lot of stuff I'm holding on to and can make stuff with. And I can kind of strike while the iron's hot and get some top dollar stuff for it that put me in a position to, move everything forward, keep it alive. And then I'm also in this weird predicament where I have a bunch of Poshet DG and Poshet Monarch stuff that there's no tests for, and I don't want to sell it. So I'm holding back. Like there's like 30, I think it was 33 hatchlings that are all Poshet for one or the other. And I can't find it in me to sell it. And it's not just, selling it and losing out on an animal that was better. I also don't want to sell something to somebody and then it not prove out, and I'll feel like an ass.
Right.
I didn't do anything wrong. I know that, but I would still feel bad. I would feel like, man, that sucks. So it's how do you sell something like that? I don't know, but I'd rather hold on to it and prove it all out. So, and then make my decisions then. So I had to make tough choices with the visual stuff, and, DG clowns are still selling, obviously. So it just came down to that, situational for sure.
That was one of the biggest sales of Arlington.
Was it?
I watched someone pick up a normal DG clown.
Oh yeah, at Arlington, huh?
Yep.
And
then Brian over here selling freaking Dark Knights at Arlington.
How many DG clowns were there? Was there a lot, or was it like handful, or?
Say there was like maybe 4 or 5 people that had them, but some of them were put as not for sale. They were just showing off.
Yeah.
And I think there's like 2 or 3 vendors that were actually selling them.
Yeah. So they're starting to show up. There wasn't too many at Pomona. I'm trying to remember I think there was maybe 1 or 2 at Pomona. But yeah, like they're starting to come out now. You're going to see a lot more of them now. People are making them. So we'll see. And like I said, I have a lot of stuff I'm already holding back that I'm keeping in that project that is going to do me just fine in due time anyway. So it seemed more painful until I actually thought about it and did it. And I realized like, I'll be good. This is more beneficial to me now than it will be. I know I can make a lot of money off this female in 3 years, but I'm going to be fine.
All right. So. No, I get that. So you very much so made it successfully in your first 3 years.
Yeah.
You're probably one of the few people that are either near even or even in the profit within 3 years. What's some advice you would give to people coming in, whether they're looking at it as a hobby or as a full out business like you have yourself?
Man, well, I guess there's 2 different answers there, but I think in general, I would just say like, if you're not passionate about it, if you're making something that isn't like, it doesn't matter what anyone else thinks or how everyone feels. If you aren't doing something that drives you, then it's probably in the best interest of the animals and yourself to probably not take it down that route. It's a different world having some ball pythons as pets and then having a full-on production in a room dedicated to producing animals and all the things that come with that. It's a completely different paradigm. So I think you for somebody that was trying to get into this as a business, I would definitely have advice along the lines of make sure you're doing what you really want to do, because I've seen it with projects, like things that I'm not excited for anymore. And I don't, and it affects the way that I treat that project or those groups of animals, as far as like, now, I'm not saying I don't feed them less or do any of that stuff. I'm just saying like I'm not pairing them, even though I could. I'm not pairing them because I don't want to make any more of them, so it's just, and it doesn't thrill me, I'm like, now I got these animals that I need to sell or find somebody that'll take them or whatever. So I would just make sure that you're getting into it and you're finding the things. And I think that was probably my biggest hiccup, was investing in things I thought I wanted to do before I realized and understood all the genetics and how they work and how they work together. And I wish I would have put that money into like puzzle or something, And I think that's probably like my biggest letdown for me getting in. So that that just boils down to like finding the stuff that you really want to work for and research. I still research. You never can do enough research. There's not a point you reach where you're like, okay, I'm done. No, just keep, pick people's brains. Like there's a lot of people in this industry that are willing to like chat and talk and chalk it up about snakes and what they do and stuff. And, so, I mean, just make sure you're doing what you really want to do. And I guess for everything, right? Not just snakes, and just in life, That's what I would say.
Thank you. I love that.
Don't buy too many males. Yeah.
Heck yeah, bro. So everyone that wants to check you out, obviously, if they're on here, they probably know who you are. But those that watch the replay, show up later, if they want to get a hold of you, they want to check you out more, see what you're about, where do they get a hold of you, bro?
I got an OnlyFans. Put that on the bottom at the end of the show if you want to see me semi-nude. No, I mean I'm only on Instagram. I don't have Facebook anymore. On my Morph Market, I don't know I think the link's on my Instagram.
Okay.
And that's it. I mean, that's the only places. I don't have a YouTube channel. I have a YouTube channel. I don't do anything with it. Yeah. So if you want to reach out and thanks, Chad. Yeah, if you just want to reach out, and shoot the shit or talk about some projects or whatever, I'm always down to do that. By the way, I love talking to people, and it's definitely not a problem at all. DM me on the Instagram.
How I got a hold of him. Hey, make sure you give some love to Mr. Jacob Ledbetter of Sybil Serpents. Great backstory. Great freaking guy. Like I'm really excited to see what you do in the future, man. You just
right on, man.
Whether they look at the entire picture or just what's going on, it's kind of inspiring, everything you've been through and the way you keep pushing yourself. So very excited to see what you do in the future, brother.
Appreciate it, man. For sure.
Yeah. Y'all, I hope you enjoyed this. Monday morning, I know I pimped the spot earlier. Monday morning, we're going to have Mr. Brian Carter on our 15-minute short. So make sure you check that out, and we'll see you next weekend. Y'all have a good one.
Thanks.